What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. We are going to be breaking down UFC 263, and we have an absolute banger of the card. The pay-per-view portion of the card is phenomenal. We have Demian Maia going against Belal Muhammad, Jamahal Hill going against Paul Craig. We have 3 5-round fights, Leon Edwards and Diaz. We have Figueiredo and Moreno as the co-main event. And of course, we have the main event as well. And overall, I think the card's fantastic. It's a card where I do not mind at all coughing up that $70 I'll be putting on there. And, the prelims, they're okay. I think there's some good fights on there, but always another opportunity to make some money. And I had a really good day or a really good night last week on Saturday, especially from a Draftkings perspective, got 7th place in the mini-max. I thought for sure once Rosenstruck got that first-round knockout, I got a takedown, but I was less than 2 points away. I needed Gregory Rodriguez to outscore Ponzinibbio, and I was so close, but still, 7th place, can't complain. And, Billy, my guest for the night, he had an amazing night. Talk about your second-round prop that you hit, man.
Yeah, man. Shouts to Big Show Picks. Big Show, whenever we do the live streams on Saturday on Pub, he always tells me to bet the women fight props inside the distance or hit the round props. And, the Mason Jones kind of broke my heart a little bit, kind of went harder on Montana De La Rosa. I ended up playing her straight, nice little triple play. Then I had her KO, TKO round 2 and 3 and hit that 42-1. Best $5 I ever spent in my life. $20 altogether, was $100 more inside my pocket, made back some of the Mason Jones money. It was a great night. The only thing that I would probably say was not a lot of finishes on the card overall, but I feel like that was a warm-up for this event because I think there's going to be a lot of finishes. Fans inside the stadium, for the people that don't know, this fight card is going to be in Arizona, not in Vegas, not in Florida, Arizona, so we don't have to worry about the judges. It should be a good one. Very excited for the betting aspect. We talked about some lines before the fight, and then the DFS aspect of it. Oh, man, the ownership. I can't wait to look at the ownership on Friday because there's going to be a lot of decisions you're going to have to make at the top, and I think that's why we're here today to discuss who's going to be in the lineup, who's not going to make the lineup.
Heck yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it's a phenomenal card. I think it's a phenomenal slate for, DFS as well. And you mentioned it. We have the fans back. I don't know what it is, especially as of late, but when the fans are in attendance, we are seeing a ton of finishes. They're trying to put on a show, and I think we're going to get a lot of fun fights here. So do you want to shout out the chat real quick? What's up, Uncle Weezy? Let's go, Brady and Billy. Can't wait to hear what you guys break down for this card. Let's go. Shout out to Uncle Weezy. Me and Uncle Weezy started a new preview show on Sundays, every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time, and then also did a main event breakdown with him on my channel. That's going to be every Monday as well, so shout out to Uncle Weezy. So it's in the chat. All I want to say is Riddell, the dog of the night. Okay, we'll talk about that one. Riff-Raff, AMC to the moon. Oops, sorry, wrong chat. There you go. Razor Sharp Picks in the building. What's up, fellas? What's up, Razor? How you doing? Last card was good with you, brother. Yeah, last card was okay. It was an okay card. Did really well in the Draftkings. Almost did really good in the betting if it wasn't for my man, Alon Patrick. We got Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast. What's up, Clint? How you doing? Clint, I think, has a lot of action for this card, so good luck to you, Clint. Can't wait to keep the streak going this week and some nice fights. Yeah, Razor, I think you went 2 for 2 last week, so shout out to you. Really good calls there.
7-1 this year in picks for Razor Sharp.
Nice. Razor's the man.
He's a horse race capper, man. Shouts to Razor.
Yeah, shout out to Razor. I think he was on Rodriguez and one more. Who else was he on? Rodriguez and somebody else.
And Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal calls there. All right, so why not get into it? We have 14 fights. I thought we were about to have 13. It looked like Frank Camacho got in like a car accident, so hopefully everything's okay with him, but he is getting replaced by Terrence McKinney. We'll talk about that one. But yeah, 14 fights on the card, crossing our fingers that all 14 stay on. We're not in Vegas, so maybe that's a good sign here. But we will start with the first fight of the night. And, this is a phenomenal card. I really do enjoy this card, but man, this first fight is an absolute shit show. We have Carlos Felipe going against Jake Collier. Felipe is 8,700 on DraftKings and Collier is 7,500. So I'm somebody that typically likes targeting these first fights of the night. I don't know what it is. They always seem to go under-owned. And I don't know what it is, but they always seem to find the optimal lineup. Like Claudio Puelas scored like 86 points last week and somehow found the optimal lineup. Do you see this one hitting optimal, and kind of what's your take here, Billy?
Oh, man. Usually I like to attack the first fight of the night as well. They usually go under own. But something about in daily fantasy where people see heavyweights and they automatically gravitate towards their lineups. However, man, I got to fade this fight, man. This is not a type of fight that I really want to have any betting parts in or DFS. I really feel like the 8-7 price tag for Carlos Felipe is a little bit too much. I kind of lean him. He came from the Brazilian regional scene, not really too impressive. I feel like he's a prime example of how bad that regional scene is out there. Jake Collier, on the other hand, man, he's going to be the bigger fighter here, but it's very hard to tough Jake Collier. I actually did bet him against Gian Vellante.
Nice.
Made a little bit of cash on that one. But, man, every time I think of Jake Collier, shout out to my ex-girlfriend, man. We're watching the weigh-ins for the Tom Aspinall card, and she said, we're smoking a blunt together, and I passed her the blunt. She said, is this dude in the UFC? He looks fat as fuck. And I was like, yeah, we're going to make a lot of money fading this dude. And I think we're going to keep the streak going. I do like fight to go to distance here at -136. That's the only prop that I can bet here in this fight. The over 2.5 is absolutely juice. Felipe had a lot of knockouts in the regional scene, but since he's gotten the UFC, all decisions. Collier, man, back in the day when he was fighting at middleweight in his first couple fights in the UFC, he did go after a couple takedowns. I think that would be his way to get the path to victory. But here at this heavyweight, his last 3 fights, I really don't see him getting this fight down to the ground. And I don't think he'll outpoint Felipe. So I think Felipe wins an ugly decision. If that line comes down any more to -150 and we start seeing more prediction videos come out in the week with Collier being bet, I don't know how people are going to bet Collier, but I feel like I got lucky with the Gian Vellante one. I'm not going to try to test my luck again. Give me Carlos Felipe, fade for DFS, only prop, like I said, -136, fight to go to distance.
Yeah, man. I mean, what a dog shit fight to open up such a phenomenal card. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I like Philippe as well. I get, people are taking a shot on the dog. The line, I mean, yeah, the line opened up wide. I mean, it opened up Carlos Felipe -312. So if you got in early on the Collier side, I think it was plus 245, around there, plus 200. I think that's fine. But the line's, coming down a little bit. Like I said earlier, I usually like targeting that first fight of the night. I just don't really like this fight from a DFS perspective. Carlos Felipe has a very good chin. He actually has some pretty solid cardio for heavyweight. I think he's going to have the cardio advantage here. And you mentioned kind of the takedowns for Collier because he has had takedowns in the past at middleweight and, some at light heavyweight as well. It's just I don't know if he has the cardio to do that in this fight here. So I don't know if he's going to go to that ground game. If he does, I mean, he probably gasses out. We saw him kind of gas out towards the end of that Gian Vellante fight, his last fight. I remember him looking up at the clock with 2 or 3 minutes left in the fight. I'll take Philippe to win by decision. You nailed it, the overs, but man, people are all over these overs. They're starting to be hit, and they're starting to be hit hard. -165. Honestly, you couldn't pay me to bet on this fight. Philippe by decision, even then, it's not that good. Collier has been knocked out 3 times. I'm going to pass here. I'll pick Philippe to win a decision, but like I said, you cannot pay me to bet on this fight. As far as DFS, I'm not going to have that much. Hopefully people play it, but even then, I just don't see it being high owned as a whole. So next fight, we have a very good one. We have Fares Azayam going against Luigi Vendramini. Vendramini is 7,900 and Azayam is 8,300. I remember Vendramini in his last fight made me a ton of money. I think it was a very closely lined fight, at least on DraftKings and the money line as well. I had a bet on him, and I want to say he was 8,000, somewhere around there. And I was kind of expecting him to go out there and take down Justin Ari, possibly submit him, maybe grind him out a little bit. But no, he goes out there and knocks out Justin Ari in the first round. I'm like, what the heck just happened, man? This guy is a legit black belt. He's been a black belt since he was a little kid. You see the improvements, obviously, in his striking. And I think this guy, has some upside, only 25 years old. On the flip side, you have Zayam, who does have 2 fights in the UFC, and it's interesting because this guy has been taken down 8 times thus far in 2 fights. He's been controlled for over 15 minutes. So do you think Luigi Vendramini can get this down to the mat, and do you think he can get a finish?
Oh, man. Shouts to Razor Sharp Picks and the rest of the chat guys, Talking Sports with JT, A. Loomis, Tom and Tom Racing, Justin Villegas, and BP. But overall, man, this is the fight that, shouts to Razor. I always say this, his new show, Gambler's First Look, or whatever it's called. And, man, first look, I didn't have any betting lean to this fight. But the more you dig into it and you start getting into the props and the stats, man, this fight is going to have to make my card. And for DFS purposes, I think this is a must-play fight. Like you said earlier, Zion might have the reach and size advantage, but, man, he's given up 8 takedowns in his first 2 UFC fights. That's a huge concern. Luigi, on the other hand, it's really hard to gauge him because he got knocked out his first UFC fight, and then he knocked somebody out in his second UFC fight. Overall, Zion, out of his 14 fights, 13 have finished. And for Luigi, 9 out of his 10 fights have finished. The pick here is going to be Luigi. I like him by sub or KO TKO inside the distance. I'm actually on a prelim with a lot of stacked fights on the main card. Man, this might be a triple play spot for me here. I like Luigi money line at plus 116. Luigi by submissions plus 950, which is way too high of a price tag. Man, I just see this fight going to the ground. Maybe Luigi locks up the sub at plus 950. It's not a bad look at all. And then rounds 1 or 2 group on FanDuel's plus 370 and fight not to go to distance minus 122. So I might roll around and have 3 to 4 plays on this fight. Have like a quarter unit on each one of those or something like that. I think there's a lot of value here for DFS. I think this is a fight that's going to go overlooked. $7,900. Luigi seems like the best play under 8K in my personal opinion. How do you feel about the fight?
100%. I mean, Vandermeany is a dog that I'm really, really looking at. And you mentioned that sub prop on FanDuel Sportsbook. Shout out to FanDuel Sportsbook. They're not a sponsor officially, but man, they should probably be sponsoring me at this point because I shout them out just about every week. But yeah, plus 950 for Vandermeany to win by submission. Okay. He's a legit black belt, has been grappling since he was a little boy. Okay. Zion has been submitted in 2 out of his 3 losses, I believe. He's getting taken down in his fights. He's getting controlled. Why is it plus 950? I don't think that line is, a good one. Let's see what it is on other books because on FanDuel Sportsbook it is. Then I have the sub prop out, but Vandermeany on Bet Online plus 250, 5 dimes plus 260. So, man, even if it doesn't hit like plus 950, I think that's kind of like a must take shot there. Like that line's off. He's a submission guy. Really good submissions. I don't know if he can knock out Zion potentially, but Zion has never been knocked out. But you mentioned it, and that was a fun, interesting stat you brought up about Zion. Only one of his fights have went to decision.
Yeah, and only one of Luigi's fights have gone to decision, and that's like out of like a 23 fight sample size. So that's a pretty good sample size to have only 2 decisions out of like an average about 23 fights. So I mean, man, it's a fight that I think that a lot of people, when they do the research process, aren't going to look at the fight. Because 8,200 might be a little bit too much for Zaim. But I think Luigi, man, might be making some noise here in the UFC. And, there's a couple of Italians on the card that might be rocking with one right here.
I like it, man. Yeah, under 2.5 rounds, minus 120. Fight doesn't get the decision, minus 125. I like both of those. Luigi Vandermeany was plus 127 yesterday on Bet Online. I was looking really hard at it, but I'm probably going to take a little shot on that submission prop. Just maybe throw a quarter unit on it or something like that. As far as DK, I'm 100% with you. I think this fight is a must own. Both these guys are finishers. Both these guys can be finished. Luigi has been finished in his only loss. And I don't see this fight like being overly popular either. I don't think many people know about Luigi Vandermeany, and I don't think that people think Zion's that great. He has not scored that well in both of his UFC fights, but maybe he can get a knockout here. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. Maybe not a must-have for me, but I'm going to have a lot of exposure to this fight, and I'm really looking forward to see how Luigi performs because the guy made me a lot of money in his last fight. All right, so what's up, EP? Really liking Zion. Sosa's taking Zion as well. Shout out to Justin. I'll take Luigi. Should ground fuck him so bad. I hope so. Yeah, Luigi does look very skilled, and he's only improving. The guy's only improving. Luigi, not the Mario Bros. One, sounds like a good pick, but it's really a pick'em. But Luigi has upside for the price. I agree. I do think this should be closely lined. So to see that Zion money coming in is kind of weird. Not really impressed by Luigi. I see a lot giving him credit for backpacking Eliza Zaleski. DeSantis, like, really, what does that mean? It was impressive. It was on short notice, and it was up a weight class. Like, that was very impressive, at least to me. But we'll get on to the next fight. So, man, another shit show of fight. We have Steven Peterson going against Chase Hooper. We have Peterson, who is 8,400, and Chase Hooper, who is 7,800 here. Yeah, Chase Hooper is somebody that I'm going to be continuing to look to fade until he, makes improvements. The striking's not great. He has 0 striking. He has 0 striking defense. He has 0 wrestling. He has a 7% takedown accuracy. A lot of people that think that, he's going to go out here and easily submit Steven Peterson. But, how's that going to happen if he can't get this down to the mat? Yes, he got, Barrett down to the mat. First of all, he was 0 for 6 in takedown attempts. But Barrett, he doesn't belong in the UFC. Barrett has been submitted prior to that, like a couple times as well. Peterson, he's a brown belt. He's a brown belt. He's never been submitted in his career, 27 fights. And, he's been a brown belt for a while. So you got to think, he has a lot of experience. You got to think some of those things that worked against Slippery Pete Barrett aren't going to work against Steven Peterson here. But with that said, as far as the DraftKings perspective, I don't have much interest in Peterson. I don't really see him taking down Hooper, or at least I would not like him to. As far as Hooper, 7,800, I will have some exposure because if he does win, maybe it is by submission. But I just find it hard to see him getting this fight down to the mat. The guy needs some work in the strength and conditioning and extreme work in the striking as well. But he's still young. I can see improvements. I just don't think he's ready yet. How about you?
Oh, man, I actually see this fight completely different the way you see it then. I like Chase Hooper here. I think the UFC is giving him a layup fight right here.
They're trying
he's very young in his career, and I feel like they're trying to build him up. This is the type of card that I feel like they want Chase Hooper to win on, man, and I think it's his fight to lose. I was pretty shocked to see him open up as such a big underdog. Money's been coming in on Chase Hooper. It's almost a pick 'em right now. The stats kind of lead in Peterson's favor, but he's such a punching bag. On the other hand, Hooper, man, it's kind of weird because 8 out of his 12 pro fights have gone inside the distance with a 41% submission rate. But then Peterson's never been sub before in his whole entire career, but he's 4-5 in his last 9 fights. I think this is Hooper's fight to win. I expect that every time we see him inside the cage, he's going to look leaps and bounds better. It's kind of weird. In UFC, you have to kind of like gauge your assumptions because it's not like MLB or NBA where you see these people every day in and day out. You kind of don't know what kind of improvements you're going to make. Think about like when you're 21 and 22, man, you're probably still playing basketball and shit like that, not really going for a professional career. So I think Chase Hooper is going to get a lot better. Props that I'm looking at here for this fight on FanDuel and Bravada, you can get
you back?
I'm still here. On FanDuel and Bravada, you can get double chance or submission at plus 135 or plus 350 for just straight up submission. And then his round props are kind of the props that I'm looking here for this fight as an insta prop. Just a couple sprinkles to make the fight night go a little bit better. Round 2 is plus 850 and round 3 is 10-1. I think there's value on those props if you're looking to bet Chase Hooper. Those are the ways that I think you should bet it. Hit the double chance or hit the round props. Overall, though, not a fight that is going to be like a public, like I'm giving you out this play. This is more of like we're on the live show. I'm drinking a couple beers. Let's have some fun and bet some round props. But for DFS purposes, I think I'm going to lean the side of Chase Hooper, $7,800. He has a chance of a submission here, and I think he'll come in at a lot lower ownership than Luigi. But you kind of don't know because I feel like Chase Hooper is kind of a fan favorite. So I'm pretty interested to see how that ownership plays out because whoever is the lower owned between the two, I think will be the better GPP play.
Yeah, man, and people love Chase Hooper, and you kind of mentioned it. The UFC, they're trying their best to give him a win. I mean, they gave him Slippery Pete Barrett, they gave him Alex Caceres, they wanted him to win that one as well, and then now they're giving him Steven Peterson. So I definitely get it. As far as DraftKings goes, I will have some Hooper. I think Hooper has the highest ceiling out of the two, but as far as a straight pick, I will pick Peterson to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, and pick apart Hooper for 3 rounds. But as far as DraftKings, I do got to take a look at Hooper, especially at his underdog price. The dude's, he's a finisher. I believe he's finished about all his wins, right?
What, Chase Hooper?
Yeah. I think
for the most part, yeah.
All but one, yeah.
Fights.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a finisher. I do think he can potentially submit Peterson if it does get down to the mat. All right, let's see what we got in the chat here. Big Show picks. What's good, boys? What's up, Big Show? Thanks for stopping by. Chase, that's the narrative. Chase has been training with Wonder Boy. If that has any value to you, a little for me. Maybe we'll see. Maybe he comes out looking like Wonder Boy. Hooper with a puking face. That's kind of how I feel. But should be a fun fight. I'm interested to see if Hooper can pass this test. All right, so next we have a very, very interesting fight, especially from a DraftKings perspective, considering we have Matt Frevola here, $8,900, and Terrence McKinney. We don't have the salary out yet, I don't believe, but I'm assuming he's going to be, priced as a decent-sized dog here. And I taped this fight a little bit. I was able to watch like 3-4 fights on McKinney, but what I noticed is this guy does not go to decision. He's never been to decision in his MMA career, amateur or pro. And I don't think he's ever been over that 2.5 mark as well. So it's safe to say that, this guy's either going out there getting a finish or going out there and getting finished himself. I went back and watched that Sean Woodson fight, and he was actually doing really good. Had a very, very good first round, had a good early second round as well, but kind of gassed out. And then Sean Woodson ended up finishing him shortly after. I just think this fight honestly probably is a fight that you should be targeting. I'm curious to see what the price is for McKinney, but I say he's live for an early finish. But if he does not get that early finish, I do think he'll slow down. I do think Matt Frevola, one thing about him is he has a very good gas tank. He's very tough. He has been knocked out before by Marco Polo Reyes, which is something you don't like to see, but still, very tough guy nonetheless. One thing I don't like about Frevola, only a 13% knockout rate, doesn't show much power. 51% finish rate overall, but I still think that if McKinney does slow down, I do think that Frevola is going to get a finish here. This is going to be an absolute war for as long as it lasts. We do not have props on it yet, but as soon as we get them out, I'm going to be looking to hammer that under 2.5, hoping they set it at 2.5. The smart thing to do would be setting it at 1.5 if they do, any research at all, but we'll see where they set it. And this is weird. So they opened up Matt Frevola minus 230 on Bet Online, but they opened up, Matt Frevola minus 430 on FanDuel. So I kind of lean towards, the Bet Online opener a little bit more. I think it should be priced around like the minus 230, minus 250, maybe minus 300 range, but McKinney is very dangerous early. So what do you think about this one?
This fight is weird, man. Shouts to Boston Nick. He actually made me watch the LFA card last weekend, and thankfully this dude was on the card, McKinney, and it was the first fight of the night that I watched, and Mills was telling me about his backstory. For the people that don't know, it's a story of redemption, man. He was off of drugs. He was a really bad drug addict, and then he got attacked by the cops, and he died twice. So ever since then, man, he's been fighting, and his fighting style follows this story. He doesn't give a fuck, dude. All of his 13 pro fights, like you said, all ended inside the distance. Last 3 have been finishes, have been great. For the people that didn't see that, I think it was like a head kick knockout, his second to last win, and it was absolutely ridiculous. I think that was the viral one. To be honest with you, man, I hope Frevola doesn't underestimate his short notice opponent, because this has all the ingredients for a parlay shitter right here. And Frevola has finished only 45% of his pro fights. I expect him to be the highest owned play on the slate for cash games and the head-to-heads, and I can understand why. Frevola is a really good grappler, solid chin, well-rounded fighter. I kind of want to see the interviews in the weigh-ins for this one, but I don't want to miss out on the line. But as you said, Bet Online's minus 220, so I'm interested to see how that FanDuel line plays out, because I really don't see the public really parlaying up Matt Frevola. I think they see McKinney, see a couple highlights from the UFC, makes their sob story about how he got killed by the cops twice. Overall, though, man, I was texting you about this because I sent you the pic. I said Matt Frevola got a new fight, and I said, man, I want to parlay up Matt Frevola, but man, this seems like a type of fight where I think the best line is going to be the props in this fight. Round 1, you can play both sides. McKinney's probably going to be like plus 400, plus 600 round 1 to win. And then if you get it by KO, TKO, you'll probably get plus 800. And then for Vola, he doesn't have a lot of finishes of recent in the UFC. So I think his round 2, maybe round 1 through 3. I got to tape study this one a little bit more, but I'm definitely going to be hitting the round props. I know you like the under 2.5 here, but I think the round props are the way to go. Last week for the late notice replacement fights, I kind of made an extra amount of money betting the round props over the unders, and I think I'm going to do the same exact process for this one. I feel like Frevola is kind of getting a layup here. He took a fight against what was that dude's name?
Sarukian. Yeah, Armin Sarukian.
I can't say the name. Sorry, I'm not Russian. But he took that fight under, like, I want to say like 12 hours notice, because his opponent had to slip down the that was the one where it was the drugs in the bag, right?
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head, yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But Frevola's getting a layup here by the UFC. I think McKinney's live for the knockout. I actually just want to see the interviews for this fight, because, like, Frevola doesn't seem like a person that would overlook something like this. He seems like a person that steps inside the octagon and gives it his all every time. But, man, let him underestimate McKinney. There might be some fans saying, oh, shit. We might see some Twitter highlights real quickly early here in the prelims.
Man, we see it. We see it time and time again. I mean, these short notice fighters come in. They're big underdogs. They're priced very cheap on DraftKings. Kind of reminds me of like the Frank Camacho when he fought Justin James. Camacho was the highest owned on the slate. James comes in on a couple days' notice, goes in there, knocks him out in the first round. This is a situation where McKinney very well could do that. If Marco Polo Reyes, the worst fighter in UFC history, knocks you out, I wouldn't be shocked if McKinney did get it done early, but he has to do it early. I don't think he can, win this fight, win minutes of the fight, especially as it goes on. A fight I'm going to be targeting my lineups. I think it's very, very important. And yeah, round props, you can look at the round props, especially for McKinney. First round could be something to look at, maybe Frevola second round. But ultimately, I want them to open up the under at 2.5. I want them to open up there. Maybe they'll look at Frevola and say, hey, this guy's more of a decision guy. I hope they do that. Because, man, this fight is going to finish, and it's going to finish pretty early. What's up, Danny in the chat? Brady and Billy, what's up, Danny? Thanks for hanging out. Boston Nick in the chat as well. The under, I'm looking at the under really hard there. Let's see what we got here. LOL, he's speaking the truth. I'm glad we're speaking the truth. Connor Mack in the building. William Brady, hit the like button. I agree. Let's get those likes up, guys. So, yeah, we'll get into the next fight here, and we have... interesting fight. We have Pannie Kianzad going against Alexis Davis. Kianzad is 8,800. Davis is 7,400. I have really no interest in Kianzad on DraftKings at this price tag. It's a pretty easy fade for me. I think that she has not scored well in all her fights. I think her best win is like maybe 78 points, something like that. Not great. I don't see her taking down Davis. That would be absolutely stupid. If anything, I'm going to be playing Davis at 7,400. She has takedown upside. Very good grappler, BJJ black belt. Very good top control if she gets it there. The problem is she does not go to those takedowns as much as I'd like. Honestly, if I knew that Alexis Davis was going to come out here and shoot for takedowns early and often, consistently, I would 100% be betting her at this price tag. It's just sometimes she wants to go to get this fight down to the mat. Sometimes she doesn't. She needs to here. But yeah, she's a pretty big dog. I think she's at like plus 175, plus 180. The line is coming down on her a little bit. But yeah, 7,400 will have some exposure. Kianzad has been submitted 2 times. I wouldn't be shocked if Davis did get a submission, but she needs to get this fight down to the mat or she's going to lose. So how do you see this one going?
Man, besides Nate Diaz here on this card, I think this is the biggest trap line on the whole entire card right here. It's crazy to say way back in the day, about a decade ago, Alexis Davis did get a KO win over Amanda Nunes at Strikeforce. So I will give her that. A huge win over Malzo in her last fight around the same exact odds. And I think there's some recency bias built into that. There's 2 glaring things that really throw me off about Alexis Davis here in this fight. I think she's the more experienced fighter, but 34% takedown. She doesn't attempt a lot of takedowns. Yep. And she absorbs 4.118 strikes per minute. That is a high number. I do not like that. I think Kianzad at 8,800 on DK is an absolute throw up in your mouth type of price tag. She should be around like the low 8s. But, when it comes to the betting odds of this, I think Kianzad by decision at minus 110, written all over it, set in stone. Am I going to place the bet? No. I do not want to bet on women's bantamweight fights on the early prelims of a stat card. This is not a fight that I would advise you to tell your friend to bet or you to bet personally. I don't care how many drinks you had in the night, what type of party you're going to. Don't bet this fight. This is a sit back and chill. Go order your food. Go smoke a blunt. Go smoke your cigarette. This is a fight that I'm probably going to have to back away from the TV. But we'll be on live, so I end up loading up for the main card because this is not a fight that I ever want to bet on, man. I expect Davis to be somewhat popular this week, dude. I expect people are going to try to get in the high price. There's a lot of high price players in this slate, and you're going to have to get ugly when it gets down to the bottom of it. And I think Alexis Davis is going to be higher owned than you're going to expect when you run that first batch of ownership. And that's an absolute fade for me. Fuck Alexis Davis, not betting her. Pannie Kianzad is the choice, but I'm jacking her name up. Man, there's so many other good spots on this card. Don't bet this fight, and don't even play this in DFS.
Dude, I can see it now. I pulled the trigger on Alexis Davis at plus 184. The fight comes, and I'm yelling at the TV, screaming at the TV, Alexis Davis, go for a takedown. What are you doing? I can just see it. I can see it happening. You can't trust Alexis Davis. Like, if I knew that she was going to go out there, attempt 5, 6, 7, 8 takedowns, I'd be betting that number. It's just sometimes, I don't know what it is. she doesn't want to get the fight down to the mat. Like, that's how you win the fight, especially this one. So, yeah, the smart move is definitely pass. It's dog or pass for me, but I just don't know if I can pull the trigger on DraftKings, completely crossing out Kianzad. But I will personally have some Davis just in case she does get this fight down to the mat, get some control time, a possible submission. But, yeah, it's definitely an ugly fight. So we'll get to the next one. Yeah, interesting fight here, especially from a DFS aspect. We have Movsar Evloev 9,200 and Hakeem Dawodu is 7,000. So, Hakeem is going to be one of the more popular dogs, at least from a betting perspective. But as far as DFS goes, I really don't have much interest in this fight. Both guys aren't the best finishers. I'll pull up the finish stats right here. Both guys have only been finished once combined. Obviously, Evloev is undefeated. Hakeem has been submitted. It was by Danny Henry. It was like in the first 30 seconds of that fight. I remember watching it the other night. But take a look at it. Evloev, 50% finish rate, not good. And then we have Hakeem, 58% finish rate, not good. It's definitely not good when Lauren Murphy has more finishes than you. So as far as DFS, I'm not really interested in this fight. I think Evloev is probably one of, if not the easiest fade on the slate for me. Yes, he'll get some takedowns, but Hakeem is hard to take down and hold down. Yes, he'll get some strikes. He's not going to finish Hakeem. I don't think he's going to control him by a decent margin. So I think Evloev is an easy fade. As far as Hakeem, I don't know, maybe he can win, but even if he does win, he's not going to go for takedowns. He's more than likely not going to knock out Evloev. It probably goes to decision. It's probably somewhat of a close fight, so I can kind of see why people are taking the dog shot here in Hakeem. I'll pick Evloev for the win just by making it kind of close on the striking and then mixing in those takedowns, getting some control time. But as far as DFS, I'm probably going to have to pass here.
Yeah, on paper for this fight, when you look at the 5-fight win streak that Hakeem's been on, man, it's been a pretty impressive one. Shouts to Millie Mills, man. He put me on that last one in Fight Island when we bet against Khabib's boy Zabora from Eagles MMA. We cashed a nice little ticket on him. But, man, the value feels like it's on Hakeem, but I don't think he can grapple with Evloev. Evloev has some of the best transition grappling that we have ever seen. Was it the Mike Grundy fight or was it the Nick Lentz fight where he almost got absolutely completely choked the fuck out and he ended up getting out of the submission?
Both fights. It was both of them.
That is the type of guy you kind of want to bet on, but you kind of don't want to bet on. You can get out of it, but he gets himself into these weird positions. So somewhat of a questionable fight IQ, but in a weird way, he keeps on going to the decision. Evloev has looked pretty good so far in the UFC, 4-0, undefeated in 14 pro fights. It's hard to bet this fight, but I lean Evloev. But I feel like the people that he's fought of recent are just low output fighters, so you can't really fault him for going to the decision. Don't be surprised if you see a finish here in this fight because I think Hakeem brings in a fight-friendly style. His last fight against Zabora, if you remember when I think it was the second or third round where he kept on telling Zabora, pick it up, man, pick it up. Yeah. I'm trying to strike a little bit. And it was kind of a boring fight. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting fight to watch. But like you said, man, 9,200, man. Shit, man. We're finding that $200 to play Jamahal Hill or something like that. I don't feel confident enough in Evloev. I think his grappling numbers may give him a decent shot to be in a cash game or something like that. Maybe you're stuck. But I think the fact that we got Matt Frevola at $8,900, that's basically the same exact play, and you save a couple $300 off of it. If I had to really pick an outcome of this fight, I like two props in this fight. This is the way I think I'm going to bet this fight. Evloev, round 3 or decision on FanDuel is a group bet, and that's -140. So you're cutting to -265 into a -140. And then and this is just a little sprinkle. When I say sprinkle, that's like a bet that's under $15. Round 2, 11-1 for Evloev to get the finish seems like a all right prop that people aren't going to be on. Maybe that's an insta prop that you want to take. That's the drunk bet that you want to take, not the Lexus Davis plus 184 price tag. But overall, though, I don't think they'll get ownership on this fight. If you want to play a head-to-head on DraftKings this weekend, you can kind of sneak in Evloev in there, and maybe he isn't going to lose you the fight. Man, I like Hakeem. The value's on him, but, man, Evloev's going to win this, and people are going to kind of start – I feel like the public's going to really start to know who Evloev is because he's just fought boring-ass fighters his last couple of fights, and that's not his fault. And those fights were as interesting as you can make it.
Yeah, 100% there. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting fight. I just can't personally get there at 9,200. And you kind of mentioned it. Hakeem's only loss is by submission. So would an Evloev submission, surprise me? I mean, maybe not, but I will, pick this fight to go to decision. I'll take Evloev to win a close decision. If anything, like I'll sprinkle some Hakeem at 7K just because of his price tag. But for him to like make the optimal lineup, he probably needs a knockout. And I don't know if he knocks out Evloev. So as far as DFS goes, I'm not going to be playing much of this fight. As far as a betting perspective goes, I probably won't have much action on this fight, if any at all. Michael agrees. We have KCOH in the chat. I think I'm sticking to a 7-unit play on Belal and Izzy straight. Other sports have been fucking me the past few weeks. Got to make it up with a 2-legger. There you go. I like Hakeem. He's been showing to be better than everyone thinks. Yeah, I mean, he's a really talented guy. Both guys are really talented. I think this is a really well-matched fight. It should be fun. All right. So, yeah, oh my goodness. Joanne Calderwood, Lauren Murphy, Joanne Calderwood, 8,200, Lauren Murphy, 8,000. And for me, I was honestly really tempted in betting Calderwood. I mean, you look at the numbers, so much output, 6.59 significant strikes per minute compared to Murphy's 3.8. But what I don't like, with the numbers and all that, and she can be taken down, 58% takedown defense. So the only thing that concerns me is if Murphy is able to get this down to the mat, get some control time. Maybe she can steal a round or two. That terrifies me. And plus, it's terrifying betting Joanne Calderwood. Sometimes she shows up, sometimes she doesn't. This is a fight that she should absolutely win, but I just don't know if I can trust her. As far as DFS goes, 8,200 is not terrible. I mean, she can score well, lots and lots of output. Murphy is, low-key hittable as well. So I'll be playing some Calderwood, but just not much interest in this fight. I don't really want to bet it. I'm tempted to bet Calderwood. I'm tempted to bet her by decision, but I think the smart move is just going to be pass. How do you feel about it?
Man, let me sell you on this one, man. Remember in the beginning of COVID last year, man, before that Maia fight, people were talking about Joanne Calderwood title shot, flyweight division, and man, did she shit the bed in that Maia fight. She still owes me money. She won against Jessica Ai. And, dude, she was only a minus 130 favorite against Jessica Ai. So when you talk about the betting perspective here, I don't blame you for not wanting to take the minus 148 shot because that's a horrible line considering we got minus 130 versus Jessica Ai. But overall, man, I want to lean Murphy. But, man, once you start looking into the stats and the tape, man, you just can't bet Murphy here, man. She just absorbs a lot of strikes. And the big thing that I feel like people forget about Calderwood, she has some of the best output in that flyweight division for women. She lands 6.59 strikes per minute, which is absurd rate for that division. I think that she's going to outpoint her. Maybe if Murphy attempted more than 1.18 takedowns per 15 minutes, I would lean passing on this fight. But I think the team elevation hype coming into this one, I think this is just a bad matchup for her on the feet. I really think that she might play into the fans here. This might be one where, everybody's in the stands. They're going to be like, start swinging, fight. And Calderwood, man, she's going to piece her up on the feet. I like that plus 105 by decision. Is it something that, like, I'm out here, let's empty out the pocket. Let me go grab the credit card and load it up on a different book to make a little bit more money on it? No, not really, man. But is that a prop that I'll probably have on my board? Man, more than likely not. I think Calderwood's the best female fighter to pick on the slate. She usually scores out pretty well in her daily fantasy performances as well. Even though I think this fight goes to decision to over 2.5 is juice, I think Calderwood plus 105 and as a low-owned DFS option could be intriguing for GPPs.
So, yeah, I see a plus 125 here for Calderwood by decision, which, that definitely has my interest. Murphy, very, very tough, very durable. Don't believe she's ever been knocked out. Don't see Calderwood submitting her as well. Yeah. Honestly, like I was looking at that decision line as well. I saw it on FanDuel. You said it was plus 105, right?
Plus 105, man. I think it's a good shot, man. I feel like people are gonna kind of overlook Calderwood here in this spot, and you're gonna see some people have some weird dog picks because it's not a real easy dog card. Last week was the dog card.
Yeah. If that plus 125 is there by the end of the show, I'll definitely have to take a shot on that. But like I said, it's terrifying. I don't want to lay the minus 150, but I don't really mind laying the plus 125. Like Calderwood should win. Calderwood is the much better fighter. It's just man, do I still feel burnt, from the Jennifer Maia fight. I remember taking a shot on, Calderwood in that fight. I think she closed around like minus 200. I think I got her like early as well, beat a ton of line movement. And then she goes out there and gets armbar from guard. Like, could that happen here? I don't know. But yeah, I think Calderwood should get it done for sure.
Yeah, I still get PTSD and dreams about the fucking Calderwood shit. That Maia one, that fucked me up because it was COVID, so there wasn't really a lot of sports to bet on. So it was like UFC or horse racing, and it was just like, we're gonna go with the UFC route. And man, did she fuck up my bank account that week?
Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah, that was upset. I think that was the same card as the Edmund Shabazian and Brunson card too, right?
Yeah, I think it was that card too.
Oh my goodness, did I get wrecked that night?
We're eating canned spaghetti that week, man. We weren't.
Terrible. But Loomis likes Fig. Lock of the night. We'll talk about Fig. KCH likes Fig as well, but can't put money on him until you see the weight cut. Fair enough. MMA experts in the building. Billy, good work, guys. Appreciate that, experts. See, we got what's up, Tristan? What's up, bros? How you doing? All right, so we have about 94 in here. If you guys can all hit the like button, that is a new record for the show, actually. So awesome. That's cool. So hit the like button and also subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Tons of content throughout the week as well. But yeah, so we'll get into the next fight here. And this is a very interesting fight. Interesting in the aspect of, man, we just saw this fight a couple months ago. Eryk Anders going against Darren Stewart. Anders 8,600 and Stewart is 7,600. And this one has me stumped because, first look, this should be an easy bet, right? I mean, we just saw this fight, but there are some things to mention. This fight is now going to be at light heavyweight rather than at 185. That kind of sketches me out a little bit. And Eryk Anders in general just, kind of sketches me out. Sometimes this guy shows up. Sometimes this guy does not show up. This guy has screwed me not once, not twice, not three times, a majority of times because he has so much skill, so much upside. It's just sometimes he drops the ball, and he drops the ball quite a bit. So, yes, he should probably win. Yes, I'm picking him to win. I think everybody's going to pick him to win. It's just one of those spots where it seems too good to be true. Minus 150 seems way too good to be true. I went back and watched their fight. Stewart was actually having a lot of success early in that fight up until Eryk Anders hurt him. And I was kind of thinking, like, what would have happened if Anders did not hurt him? I think it would have been a much closer fight. But I don't know. What do you think about this one? Are you riding with Anders, or do you think that this line is indeed too good to be true?
This is such a weird fight for me too, Brady, because shouts to my man MMA Locker Room. We did an interview with Eryk Anders that week of Darren Stewart on Media Day, and it's so ironic because it was the week after the Aljo Yan fight, and we asked him how he felt about the illegal knee because he had 2 illegal knees now, but one earlier in his career, and he was talking all this shit about how Job was stupid for kneeing him in the face and all that, and then ironically he needs the dude in the fucking face at plus money ticket. Dude, that I think just off of that, of like how emotional of a ride that was, of like, we got done the interview, Mills is like, all right, we betting Eryk Anders here. I was like, fuck it, dude, I'm pulling the trigger. And we pulled the trigger, and then that shit happens. I can't bet him as a favorite here. Another thing to note, this fight is also at light heavyweight 205 here. I think that kind of leans into Eryk Anders' favor here. Ever since he's came out of Fight Ready, though, I will give him credit. Something about Fight Ready, and I don't know, man. They're kind of rehashing his former physical gifts that he had at Alabama, former college D1 football player at one of the best schools ever, man. He's starting to look like he has those physical gifts again, or should I say those physical gifts are actually appearing inside the octagon, which it hasn't really before, and that's the reason why he almost knocked out Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart, I think, on the other side, is one of the most inconsistent fighters on the whole entire slate. I can't really trust him even at dog money here. I think this is a fade for DFS due to both fighters' IQ and inconsistencies, but new weight class for this fight, like I said earlier, might lean into Eryk Anders' favor for him not being able to cut weight. Dude's a big dude coming out of Fight Ready. I like Eryk Anders. I just don't like the betting odds because I feel like I got jinxed the last fucking time, and I had the plus money ticket. Man, that shit makes me – I think that's like one of the weirdest things ever is when a fight goes to no contest and then they reschedule the fight again. It just makes you not want to bet on the fight, but it's just like, damn, man, am I missing out on an easy opportunity to just lay the minus 150 wood and just take the easy money? Because I really don't see this fight really playing too much different than the second fight. And then, like I said earlier, man, him not having to cut weight, It's going to favor Eryk Anders, not Darren Stewart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like on paper, yeah, it looks like easy money, but and then I kind of went back and looked through the record of Eryk Anders, and I just get so many bad memories of when Khalil Roundtree knocked the dude down 4 times when Gerald Mearshart outstruck this dude 72-64. He won that fight. I didn't think he won it, but he won that fight. He gets beat by Elias Theodorou. Just some of these fights, he just does not show up. And will he show up in this fight? Will he not? I don't know, but I think fight ready and as a great camp. I think that's really important. I'm not putting my money on this one. I'll let everybody else bet Anders. It seems like everybody's betting Anders this week, and I get it. We saw the fight play out, but I forget who said it. I think it was Uncle Weezy said it. Every single fight or when there's a rematch, it does not always play out the same way. Bunch of different factors. And I also heard that Darren Stewart was going through something. Was it maybe a bad weight cut or like an injury as well? Forget exactly what it was, but I do know that Darren Stewart was going through something, during that fight. So could that been a factor? I don't know, but I think I'm going to pass here. As far as DFS, I really don't know what I'm doing yet. I feel like this fight could be, either very exciting, possible finish, or I feel like it could be very boring. I just don't know. So I'm going to take a look at the ownership, and then I'll make my decision then. But very, very tough fight to call, but I will pick Anders.
I can't play this fight in DFS. Hell no. There's just too many people around the same exact price range that I'd rather get up to and find the money for.
Shout out to Kinu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. 100 new record. Yes, sir. We hit the 100 mark. Thank you guys for all hanging out. It's a big card. Shout out to the chat. But we'll get into the next fight. And this fight could potentially be fight of the night. Drew Dober, Brad Riddell. Dober 8,500, Brad Riddell 7,700. And it's an interesting fight. I think this fight is somewhat close. I think it'll be exciting. I think it has potential to score well on Draftkings. Brad Riddell looks like a very intriguing underdog, at least to me. And kind of what I pointed out on my prediction video is, hey, I wouldn't be shocked if I know these guys are both strictly strikers, but I wouldn't be shocked if either guy tried to exploit the weakness of the other guy, which is going to be the takedown defense. Both guys have shown to have had, bad takedown defenses. Drew Dober's is sitting at around 55%, which is horrible. Brad Riddell's is sitting around 60%, which is not that great as well. And then you take a look at Brad Riddell on his Instagram. He's working on that wrestling. You see a bunch of pictures of him wrestling, a bunch of videos of him wrestling, interviews saying he's working on the wrestling. So I wouldn't be shocked if either guy really came in here with the game plan of, getting this fight down to the mat. So everybody's expecting this to be a striker versus striker, and it very well is, but I wouldn't be shocked if either guy did mix in a takedown here or there. But ultimately, it's a fun fight. I'll probably play both sides, but that $7,700 price tag on Brad Riddell really has me interested.
Oh, man, this is a weird fight here, Brady. I'm shocked that we're actually agreeing on this one. Shouts to Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you head over to pubsportsradio.com and check out some of the articles that are going to be coming out for UFC 263, because I think I'm going to write this one as a fighter spotlight one. Everyone is eyeing up Izzy Adesanya for City Kickboxing. But, man, there's a guy. His name is Brad Riddell, man. He might come out for this one. I like the price tag money-wise. More money's coming in on Drew Dober as the week goes along. It's the type of fight that I think we'll get enough time to get the interviews in, watch the interviews, watch the weigh-ins, and I think the lines are going to still go in Drew Dober's favor, even after more prediction videos come out. I don't really see a lot of people picking Brad Riddell. Overall, man, he was supposed to fight Gregor Gillespie, so he's been grappling. Izzy lost his last fight. He's been grappling. Both of them have been in Arizona for the last, 3 to 4 weeks. Shouts to Adesanya's YouTube video. You get a nice little insight of what City Kickboxing's been getting ready for this fight. And I like Drew Dober, but he absorbs too many strikes for me to pick him here. I think this is a dogger pass situation. It sucks that we're agreeing a lot here on this card, but you're seeing it kind of the same exact way I'm seeing it. I think this is one prop that I think I got to sleep on, man. I'm glad I got a couple days of sleep on it. But, man, besides the City Kickboxing parlay of Riddell and Izzy, that's always the City Kickboxing parlay you got to throw in under not tracked or something like that. But Riddell by decision's plus 250, man. And if he wins this fight, I think he wins this fight by decision. And at plus 250, that's a good enough price tag for me to take the dog shot. You're returning to plus one thing that the betting gentlemen have always told me that are older than me, never make an underdog a favorite. Always try to make an underdog even more plus money if you can. And I think that's the way we do it here. Plus 116 to a plus 250. Man, you give me a plus 250, money line against Drew Dober, I would have to pick it. And I think that's the reason why I might make my card. I'm shocked that we're actually agreeing on this one. I think his price tag's pretty good for DFS if you're just looking for salary under 8K. The biggest problem here in this fight is just Drew Dober's endurance is absolutely ridiculous. It took Islam Makhachev, like, I wouldn't say everything in his power, but it took Islam, like, all right, I got to get this dude the fuck up out of here.
Yeah.
And he ended up lasting to the third round. Drew Dober rarely gets finished in a lot of his fights. He actually has a lot of finishes on his record against lower level competition. But I think Brad Riddell getting ready for that Gregor Gillespie fight, I think this is a little bit step down of competition. Not too much, but enough here for me to pick Brad Riddell at the plus money dog or pass spot.
I like it. Yeah, I don't understand why the line's getting wider and wider, but I guess maybe we just wait. Maybe we just wait throughout the week and see if we can get a better price on Brad Riddell. You mentioned the decision prop. I like that. But yeah, I guess I'm not stupid. Maybe other people are seeing what I'm seeing, that Brad Riddell might come in here and get takedowns. I think that's really interesting to talk about there. All right, so we will now get to the pay-per-view portion of the card. Before we do so, be sure to hit the like and also subscribe if you have not yet to Pub Sports Radio. Tons of content throughout the week. I'm going live for the fights on Saturday as well. Should be a very, very fun card. Live betting, live commentary. Always fun to hang out with the guys. But we will get to the first fight of the night, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. We have Jamahal Hill going against Paul Craig. And I'm going to have a ton of exposure on this fight as a whole. Jamahal Hill, 9,400, one of my favorite plays in that 9,000 range. You have Paul Craig, 6 to 800. And we kind of talked about it before stream. Paul Craig has went to decision one time in about 19 fights, and that one time was against a 60-year-old Shogun in a fight that he was looking very, very good in that first round, kind of slowed down, and ended up being a draw. But I just see this fight going one of two ways. Either, Jamahal Hill knocks him out in that first round, or Paul Craig gets him down in that first round and submits him. So, how do you feel about this fight? I know people are really, really high on Jamahal Hill. I'm high on him as well. I do have some question marks about his takedown defense and ground game, and I do think those question marks will be answered here. But I do think he passes this test. I do think he stuffs those takedowns, and I do think he puts Paul Craig's head into the third row. As far as DraftKings, like I said, going to have a ton of Hill, but I will have some Craig as far as a pump plate goes. And then as far as the props go, I'm sure we'll talk about this as well with you, but I do like the fight does not go to decision. I don't hate the under 1.5. And if you do have the FanDuel Sportsbook, for some reason, they have fight does not start round 3 at plus 112, which is very, very interesting. So, Billy, how are you feeling about this one?
For starters, I do like the fight not to go to distance as a parlay piece. I know it hasn't really been coming through on the big chalky spots. I think last week was Dusko and Gregory Rodriguez. A lot of people picked that one, fight not to go to distance. That one didn't hit. And then the week before that was Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt. That fight didn't go the distance. But I think this one here, both of these fighters have never been in a boring fight. Like you said, 18 out of 19 fights for Paul Craig have gone under 2.5 rounds. That's an absurd number. This is the number one fight that you need to add into your DFS lineups here. Jamahal Hill has just special power behind his hands. 62% of his fights have gone under 2.5 rounds, 50% KO rate. I feel like the line's being steamed towards Hill's direction, but man, I get bad vibes about him in my parlays and stuff like that. I think the way to attack this fight is to hit the see more section on your sportsbook and start looking at the props at this fight. The props in this fight is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, this is a main target. 6,800 for Paul Craig. If he wins, he's going to be optimal. If Jamahal Hill wins, he's going to be optimal. So we don't even have to talk about the DFS aspect of this fight. Let's talk about these props. Jamahal Hill and FanDuel round 1 or 2 is plus 185. You're making a minus 300 to a plus 185. And if he wins this fight, he would win this fight round 1 or 2. That's one of my favorite props on the board. And I think I'm going to double dip it with if you hit method of victory and round, Jamahal Hill round 1, plus 410, round 2, plus 650, round 3, plus 950. I really don't see the round 3 happening, but plus 410 and plus 650 caught my eye. And then, man, I looked at Paul Craig. The sportsbooks are giving him no love when it comes to the submission prop. Plus 440. That is a ridiculous number. And then I had to click the other thing of where it says submission and the round. Yes. Round 1, 10 to 1. Round 2, 39 to 1. This fight right here is a perfect type of fight. If you have Jamahal Hill in the parlays, you better scrub up the money to actually hedge bet this, because Paul Craig round 1, 10 to 1 for a submission, and then round 2, 39-1. This is how you make money betting on fights. You start betting the round props. Fuck the under 2.5. Fuck the under 1.5. Fuck the fight not to go to distance. These round props are ridiculous. FanDuel, I hope I hope none of your representatives are watching this video, but as soon as this video goes off, round 1 or 2, Jamahal Hill plus 185, we're cashing that ticket. That's a ridiculous price tag, dude.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. If you guys like Jamahal Hill out there and you have FanDuel Sportsbook, round 1 or round 2, Jamahal Hill plus 180, it just, it makes no sense. I mean, the guy is, about minus 400. You're turning about a minus 400 guy right into a plus 180. He probably does win in the first couple rounds. I'd be shocked if this went to the third round, and I'd be honestly shocked if it's in the second round. So, a fight that I do want to have a ton of exposure on the DFS side. Preston saying just bet Hill KO round 1. What'd you say that was again? Plus 400?
Hill round 1 was by KO TKO is plus 410.
410? Yeah. If you like Jamahal Hill, yeah, go for it, man. I mean, I see this fight ending inside the distance. I have a pretty sizable play on the fight to not go to decision. So I'd be shocked if it's seen the distance. So especially, considering they hate each other. They've been getting some beef. I forget what happened. I think Hill said that Craig was ducking him or something like that. So they probably want to kill each other. They probably will try to. And we have the fans. So they're going to look to entertain the fans. And I do think they'll be entertained for as long as it lasts. We have Millie Mills in the building. What's up, Millie Mills? Thanks for hanging out. Preston's calling a first round knockout by Jamahal Hill. I can't say I disagree. Devontae Smith in the building.
Better bet it, Preston.
Yeah. Gotta love the fight as a decision on this one. Craig has never seen the bell. He saw the bell once in the brawl, but other than that, never seen the bell in 19 fights. Only saw it against that 60-year-old Shogun. But FanDuel Sportsbook has the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 235. They have not changed it yet. On other books, is like minus 300. So if you have the FanDuel Sportsbook, I do think that's a pretty good prop.
Also, that prop that you told me, fight the not start round 3 at minus 118. That's a good price tag too.
They changed it.
I think it was. No, it's at plus money actually. I think this is a fight that you just bet the props, dude. Why are people parlaying up Jamahal Hill when these props?
I don't know.
Price. And I don't even like his KO prop. His KO prop is plus 130, but you can bet him round 1 at twice the number. Why am I betting the KO prop?
100%. So we'll get to the next fight here. Belal Muhammad going against Demian Maia. And honestly, outside of all the 5 fights on the main card, this is the one I'm least looking forward to. Not saying it's a bad fight, but I like all the other fights more. And this is the fight that I'm going to have my least exposure to on DraftKings. I just don't see myself paying, $9K for Belal Muhammad, who, you wouldn't think he's going to go for takedowns. You wouldn't think he's going to get control time against Demian Maia. You're going to think he wants to stuff the takedowns of Maia, keep it on the feet, and piece him apart for 15 minutes. That probably is what happens. He probably does not score well. And when you have other fighters in the 9K like Figueiredo, Adesanya, you have Jamahal Hill up there, I just find it really hard to play a guy like Belal Muhammad, who typically does not score well. So probably going to fade Muhammad or have just very, very little. As far as Demian Maia, I mean, I have some interest, but the only problem for me is the guy is 43 and a half years old. He's turning 44 in October. I do think he could potentially get this down to the mat. But, the gas tank worries me. The age worries me. Belal Muhammad has an 85% takedown defense on paper. He has not been tested as much as I'd like to see in the takedown defense and grappling department. But I just can't, have too much faith in Demian Maia at 43 years old. I'll play some of them on DraftKings because of the price, but it's hard to be very confident in Demian Maia. I'll pick Belal Muhammad, but I'm just not touching the 9K.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here. You broke that down perfectly. Man, isn't this Demian Maia's retirement fight? Am I not?
It's got to be.
I think it's his retirement fight. And it's against Belal Muhammad, who has a good takedown defense percentage on paper. But, you look at the people that he's fought, dude, none of those people are grappling specialists, not even on the same universe as Demian Maia. Demian Maia is one of the best grapplers ever to touch inside the octagon. Absolute legend. But, man, I do not like this matchup for him. I actually think that I think this sets up for a decent live betting spot, because it's later on in the main card. I mean, second fight in the main card. Hopefully you made some money on the prelims. I think Demian Maia wins round 1. One thing that we've been noticing during these live streams is these ridiculous live line price tags after round 1, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. Like Sean Woodson last week after round 1 versus Yusuf Zalal, plus 750. Ponzinibbio against Miguel Baeza on FanDuel and Bravada plus 700 after round 1. Like, these are the type of lines that you can get when you weight the live bet. I really don't want to parlay up Belal Muhammad at minus 245. I just think there's other safer spots here on the card. If I did bet Belal Muhammad, there's 2 props that I'm looking at. His decision prop, obviously, at plus 110. Belal always goes to decision. And like I said earlier, it's Demian Maia's retirement fight. You might see him, kind of be starstruck in the beginning of it. And I think this is a weird fight that could also end late. So the round 3/decision prop, shouts to GTM who put me on that for FanDuel, is minus 120. I think there's ways to bet this fight straight and not have to parlay up Belal Muhammad. I think the only way you should parlay up Belal Muhammad is if you're in a Hail Mary parlay, or if you're watching the card with your buddies and you want to just place a bet on these next couple of fights. I don't think Belal Muhammad should be in your first line of your tickets this weekend. I think he wins the fight, but a lot of weird things can happen inside the octagon. And with Demian Maia on the other side, I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I can't bet this. Somebody said Belal Muhammad by knockout. Muhammad has 1 knockout win in like 12 UFC fights, 11, 10 UFC fights, a ton of them, but only 1 knockout win against Augusto Montano in 2016. I say decision Muhammad. I don't really want to bet it. I don't really want to parlay Muhammad. I don't really want to play this fight on DraftKings all that much. Just not much interest for me. I just think there's so many other better spots on the card. I'm sure a lot of people will be parlaying Belal Muhammad, and I think that's okay, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to always count out Demian Maia here. And I just have not seen enough of Muhammad's takedown defense and ground game to feel completely comfortable with, parlaying Muhammad. But that price tag is coming down a little bit. He opened up minus 270 for Muhammad, currently minus 230. So some action is coming in on Demian Maia a little bit, it looks like. I just don't want to bet this fight as a whole. I did miss something in the chat that I did want to bring up, if I can find it here. Brady, I do not see the round. It doesn't start round 3 on FanDuel, brother. Just fight round 1 into round 2. So you have to go on the website. It doesn't show up on the app. I don't know why, but you got to go on the website to do it.
It's under time prop section. It's the last tab all the way over to the right when you get there.
Yeah, and it should still be there. 85.71 takedown defense for Muhammad. Yep, very good takedown defense, and he has only been controlled by his opponents for 3% of his cage time in the UFC. Those stats line up really well for him. I 100% agree. Belal Lama for decision. Belal finishes him late, potentially. I could see like a 3rd round finish if Maia does gas out. Appreciate you as well, Ron. All right, so we will get to the first 5-round fight of the night. We have Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz, and FanDuel Sportsbook made a big mistake. They opened up the KO prop for Leon Edwards at plus 240. I'm not sure why they did it, but I did take a small shot on that. It is currently like plus 135, plus 145. I hope they don't void it, but they've done a good job at not voiding anything yet for that I've been doing on there. So I do have that plus 4 or plus 240 in my pocket there, and also have Leon Edwards parlayed with somebody else on the card that we'll talk about very soon. But it's straightforward. I like Edwards. I like him quite a bit. He's the better fighter. He's in his prime. Diaz is past his prime. I think that Edwards is better. Anywhere the fight goes, Diaz, could he get a submission? Maybe, probably not. Edwards' grappling is pretty good himself. I just see Edwards outstriking him for the majority of the fight up until there's probably like a cut stoppage. Like Diaz gets cut open in pretty much all of his fights nowadays. Give me Edwards by like a cut stoppage, TKO victory. And I think that, he makes it look pretty easy here. I don't think that Diaz will provide much resistance. Am I counting out Diaz a little bit too much, or do you think that Leon rolls here just like me?
This is a weird fight, man, because I think Edwards is just going to be in my top line of my tickets. I'm just going to say fuck it, and I'm just going to roll with it. He's the biggest favorite on the card right behind Matt Frevola is right behind him. The line opened up at minus 450. I parlayed it up with Deiveson Figueiredo and Mason Jones from last week. But now that parlay is minus 145, a little bit chalkier than I like it. But I think there's ways to attack this fight. Like I said earlier, one reason why I like FanDuel is because they group their round props and stuff like that. I'll get into that in a couple of seconds. I think for Edwards here, man, in the public eye, this is a huge fight for him. This is the way he gets the potential pay-per-view sales. A lot of people, if you held up a poster in the middle of the street and it was Leon Edwards' face in it, and you asked somebody, do you know who this guy is? They would say no. And more people know who Nate Diaz is, but I don't think that reflects this fight at all. Nate Diaz, this is not the fight you're supposed to come back to. You're a plus 410 dog, and man, if you watch some of the embedded series, brah, they living out there in Arizona. My man got an Airbnb, flew off the flight. Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz are both with him. They're getting lit. They got an Airbnb. They're training mountainside. I'll give him credit. He's coming into this fight on some swag stuff, but man, you saw that fight against Jorge Masvidal a couple of years ago. That was not a good showing, and he's just continuously dropping off. One thing Boston Nick said to me that always sticks with me is he says with the Diaz brothers, they never really go to any other training camps, and they really don't really develop too much. They kind of stay plateau of where they're at, and they always have good chins. But I think Edwards here, I'm kind of with you. I think he gets the late round finish. The fight prop that I'm looking at the most here, and I think this is the prop that I think this is the second or third prop that I'm going to lay the most money on. Edwards, round 4, 5, or decision on FanDuel. Minus 125, and that is a absurd price tag. I'm shocked that's not minus 145 or minus 150. At minus 125, you're making the biggest favor on the card, only at minus 125. And if he gets the win finish-wise, I really only see it late. Edwards is a pretty slow starter. So is Diaz as well. So I think this could push a couple rounds. Shouts to Nate Diaz for getting these 5-round fights. I don't even get how this is a 5-round fight, but it kind of does lean to his favor. But man, I think Edwards is going to get the finish here late, and this is going to be the fight that people are going to be playing in the highlight tapes before his next fight. That could be a potential title fight or a contender fight with Kobe Covington.
100%, man. Shout out to Danny. Legs the capper here. Plus 240 ticket got voided. I'll have to check, but probably mine got voided as well. So that sucks. They usually don't void the lines that are off like that. I remember I had a Jimmy Rivera ticket that was like plus 250 by decision, and on other books it was like plus 115. They didn't void that one, but they probably voided this one. So that sucks. But you mentioned a lot of good points. I like that minus 125, 3 or was it 4 or 5 decision?
4 rounds, 4, 5, or decision.
Yeah. I'll probably just, throw a little bit on that. But ultimately, I do have in a parlay. But, man, that breaks my heart a little bit, man. I was looking forward to that plus 240 by knockout. But, they probably did void that.
I don't know, man. I've never seen FanDuel void a mispriced ticket. Like, dude, there's been some real – like, I know you've been playing on FanDuel for a while.
Yeah.
There's been some real bad, like, mispriced tickets.
I know.
Like, they always pay that shit out, man.
Well, maybe they voided legs and not mine, but they probably did void mine as well. Danny says, I think they voided because they initially made it a 3-round fight and then switched it props to 5 rounds. Yeah, that it makes sense. I mean, if I was them, I'd void it as well. So I can't hate them for it too much. Nate Diaz's forehead bleeds when he takes a hot something like that. But yeah, even the knockout prop where it's at now, like what, plus 135, plus 140. I mean, I don't think it's horrible. I think Leon Edwards definitely can finish it by knockout. So I'll have to see what I'll do there. But yeah, that does suck a little bit. But I understand why they avoided it.
And I hate the hedge, but this is a good hedge fight right here. If you have Leon Edwards late in your night and there's some good parlays that you have him in, you can easily throw $20 on Nate Diaz inside the distance and probably make back half of your parlay money.
Yeah, 100%, man. But yeah, as far as DFS, it gets a little tricky because Edwards is the most expensive. He typically does not score all that well, but I kind of have a feeling he does score very, very well in this fight. How about you?
You think I think Edwards is going to go low owned, but do you think Nate Diaz is going to be the highest owned underdog? Because when I did my first batch of ownership, I think that people are just going to gravitate towards Nate Diaz at 6,700 to make the other things work in their lineup.
I can see it.
When Jorge fought Usman earlier this year, and Jorge was like really not high owned, but higher owned than I initially thought, just because he made everything work for people's lineups. I think he'll be higher owned in single entry than he would be in GPPs. So if you're a single entry player out there on DK or FanDuel, I would just fade this fight.
Yeah, understandable for sure. So we'll get to the next fight. We have Deiveson and Figueiredo going against Brandon Moreno, the rematch and a fun fight that happened last time. So I think there are, 2 or 3 very, very interesting factors of the fight or the last fight. The first one being that Deiveson and Figueiredo actually had, I think, food poisoning the night before. He went to the hospital on the verge of not fighting. The guy shows up the next day, fights a 5-round war and wins the 5th round. I mean, that's just crazy to think about. The guy was on the verge of not fighting with food poisoning. I've had food poisoning plenty of times, and it sucks so bad. But he went out there and had a 5-round war and made it very, very competitive. And also another thing is he would have won that fight if there was not a point taken away. So I think those are two huge factors. And another factor was that fight was kind of made on a couple weeks short notice. I think they had they had the fight booked, and then somebody pulled out, right? And then they had to rebook the fight a couple weeks later. So Figueiredo had to actually cut weight 2 times within the span of like a couple weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, and he also flew from Abu Dhabi to stay in an Airbnb in Vegas. And for the people that don't remember, that was the fight that Dana White forgot to give him the bonus after the fight. So he pulled up to his hotel room in Abu Dhabi with a shitload of cash, like straight cash, and he gave it to Deiveson Figueiredo. So I feel like you said, Brady, I think there's a lot of recency bias baked into this one.
Yes.
One of my friends, Scar, you don't even know who he is, but we're talking. He asked me what are my picks for the card for parlays for like the big Hail Mary ones, and he had Brandon Moreno, and he was trying to convince me. I'm just like, dude, you and the rest of the public is going to bet Brandon Moreno for what? This is a rematch fight. This is Deiveson Figueiredo is going to look a lot healthier, and I think this is my favorite prop on the whole entire board for the whole card. I think Figgy is going to get the KO or submission, which is inside the distance at plus 140. That is a line that I'm going to absolutely hammer. I think a lot of people saw the first fight, and like Uncle Weezy said, a lot of people think the second fight's going to go like the first fight. No, Figgy's going to starch Brandon Moreno. I'm a big fan of Brandon Moreno. Made money against him, bet against my boy Brandon Raw Dog Royval against him. So yeah, I do have a special place in my heart for Brandon Moreno. But man, Deiveson Figueiredo is going to starch this kid plus 140. He's going to be motivated. There's a lot of star names on this card. He knows this is the type of card that is going to make him life-changing money. And I think this is the way it starts, plus 140, man, inside the distance. And then also on FanDuel for those people out there, Figueiredo rounds 1 through 3 plus 200 is also how I'm going to double play this.
I like it. I like it quite a bit. The only thing for me is, Moreno is very tough, but if someone's going to finish him, it's going to be Deiveson Figueiredo. It has not happened yet, but this very well could be the time. I listened to, a little interview. I believe I put it on Twitter as well, where Deiveson Figueiredo hates Moreno. Like, he is pissed off. He said he's going to finish him. He wants to kill the dude. I mean, he's mad. I think he said something about Brandon Moreno, called him a liar or something along those lines, but he's coming in here hungry. I think he feels disrespected. I think he's a little pissed off that it went to a draw, and I'm with you. I think he comes out here and I think he puts Moreno's lights out. So I like Figgy. I love Figgy on DraftKings. He's sitting at, 9,100. I love that quite a bit. One of my favorite plays up in that 9K range between him and Jamahal Hill. And we'll talk about Adesanya as well. But yeah, I'm going to have a ton of Figueiredo. I think Moreno is an interesting pump play. He can maybe make this competitive, but I just see Figueiredo hurting him bad at times and potentially putting him out. If Figueiredo looked that good on somewhat of short notice with food poisoning, being in the hospital the night before, I'm curious to see what he looks like, with time to prepare for this fight. I think we're going to see the best Figueiredo possible, and I do think he ends this fight pretty early.
Yeah, I remember somebody said in the chat, Leon Edwards could be optimal at 9,500. And these are one of the reasons why I can't play Leon Edwards at the highest priced player in the slate. You got Jamahal Hill right below him at 9,400. And then you have Deiveson Figueiredo, who's probably my favorite DFS play of the slate at 9,100. And I just don't see why I play Leon Edwards if I have Figgy, Izzy, and Jamahal Hill all right there in the same exact price range. I know Edwards can get the late round finish, but I just want to note that one out there. When you start looking at the broad view perspective at the higher price 9K range, it's just tiers to this shit, man. And I think Deiveson Figueiredo is a different tier.
100%, man. So yeah, I like Figgy quite a bit. He's going to close out my parlay with Leon Edwards. I got it last week around like minus 130 something. So yeah, hopefully that does hit, but I'll also be looking to potentially play Figgy by inside the distance, which you said is around like the plus 145.
Plus 140, I got it. Double chance KO or submission. That's on FanDuel and Bravada. Beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely might be taking a look at that for sure. All right, so it is time for the main event. We have about 113 in here. If you all can hit the like button, that'd be much, much appreciated. Big card this week. Really looking forward to it. Going live on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Also added a new show to Pub on Sundays, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, where we give an early look. Me and Uncle Weezy went live on Sunday, and we dug balls deep into the stats. It was a pretty good show there. So if you have not seen it yet, Go check it out. Lots of great info on there. But now we have the main event. Israel Adesanya going against Marvin Vettori. And it's an interesting fight. It's a very interesting fight. I'm a big fan of Marvin Vettori. Honestly, not the biggest fan of Adesanya. Adesanya is 9,300, Vettori 6,900. But ultimately, I'm going to have to go with Adesanya. I think it can be somewhat competitive within those first couple rounds. It's just I'm kind of worried about what Marvin Vettori looks like the later the fight goes. And I kind of mentioned this on my prediction video that it is it really hurts your cardio when you go for a takedown, you go all out for a takedown, and you can't get it. We saw it happen to Zalal, who went for 17 takedowns, got 2 of them. We saw it happen to the Monkey King, went for a bunch of takedowns, couldn't get much. And it's really taxing on your cardio. And the thing about Adesanya compared to guys like Carl Roberson and Kevin Holland is Adesanya actually has a very good takedown defense, sitting at 82%. And something else I like compared to Kevin Holland and Adesanya is Adesanya actually tries to get up, unlike Kevin Holland, who let Vettori control him for 20 minutes, take him down 11 times. I just don't see that happening. I'm going to go Adesanya. I think Adesanya has an opportunity to finish Vettori late. I think 4 or 5 in decision could definitely be a look. As far as 9,300, I don't know. I like Figueiredo more. I like Hill more, but I think Adesanya can score, well in a 5-round fight as a whole. So what do you think about this one?
I think this is going to be the lowest owned that we'll get Israel Adesanya on any DFS slate in a very long time, and maybe for the future. Man, I love Marvin Vettori. I made a lot of money on this 5-0 run that he's been in his last 5 fights. But, man, the biggest concern about Marvin Vettori for me, I'll talk about him first, is he's the type of fighter that you can get inside his head. And I just think that Izzy's going to get inside his head here. There's fans in the stadium. There's going to be that big press conference where they do it on TV and stuff like that, where they're just going to be talking shit against each other and stuff like that. And there's something about Marvin Vettori. He gets himself into these fire fights. I remember before the Carl Roberson fight, people were picking Carl Roberson because they thought that Marvin Vettori gets in his head too much. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Marvin Vettori has a path to victory. We know what the path to victory is. Take Izzy to the ground. But maybe we just haven't seen wrinkles in Izzy's game yet that we are kind of under-assuming here. And I think Izzy is just going to be levels ahead of Marvin Vettori. I think who's gotten better since their first fight? Izzy by a wide margin. And it's not even close. I love Vettori. He makes sense for that big underdog play of the card. But, man, Izzy's going to piece him up on the feet, and I think Izzy's going to want to prove a purpose. He knows there's fans inside the stadium. This is the type of fight that he needs to get his career back going in the right direction. He fought Jan Blachowicz last fight, and there's everyone's going to note the takedowns late in the fight. And then round 3 of the first fight, Marvin Vettori actually, I think he got 3 takedowns on Izzy in that 3rd round, and that's the reason why everybody thought that Marvin Vettori kind of won the fight. Maybe that can happen here. Maybe Adesanya got better takedown defense. Is Adesanya going to be a top ticket parlay piece for me? No, not at all. There's props that you can get on this fight that are way, way better. Me and Danny were looking at this on Sunday. If you could pull up best fight odds for me, Izzy round 4 and 5, I think is like 18-1 and like 26-1. It's ridiculous numbers for Izzy's round props here for this fight. I like Izzy. My favorite one was rounds 4, 5 or decision. It seems like a prop that I'm playing a lot on this card.
Yeah.
4, 5 or decision at plus 105, and then Izzy by KOs plus 190. Those are the 2 leans I have here for this fight. Nothing that I pre-bet on because I just have concerns that maybe Marvin Vettori does fight the right game plan. He's coming out of Kings MMA. You know he's going to be prepared for this fight. It's just the X factor that we can all not really look at on the paper. Is he going to get in his head? Because if he gets in his head against Israel Adesanya, we saw what happened to Pablo Costa, man. That motherfucker got lit the fuck up on the feet. And I can see Marvin Vettori's dumbass on the press conference. Oh, I almost won the first fight. Is he? Well, I'm telling you right now, when we go inside the octagon on Saturday, I'm going to beat your ass. Does he not know he's fighting Israel Adesanya?
Yeah.
And Izzy might just like – I think there's levels to this shit when it comes to this division, and there's a huge teardrop between Izzy and number 4 Marvin Vettori. I want to bet Marvin Vettori so bad, but I can't, man. I think Izzy's gonna just starch him on the feet, and he's actually going to finish this fight. A lot of people are picking Izzy by decision. Nah, give me Izzy in the late round finishes, and let's make this money on this card because there's a lot of round props. I know you looked at a couple unders, but man, this is a card that I'm going to go balls deep on, and we're just going to play these round props. I made a little bit of extra cash last week off of it, and I think that's how I'm going to play this one this week too.
I like it. Yeah, man. We talked about a ton of great spots from a betting perspective. We talked about it from the DFS. So we'll kind of close with this. If you had to pick one play in the 9K range, and I'll do 2 plays. Who are your favorite 2 plays in that 9K range?
I'll give you 3 plays here. My favorite 2 plays in the 9K range is going to be Deiveson Figueiredo because that's probably going to be the prop that I put the most money on is him inside the distance. And a lot of people kind of shy away from the flyweights putting him in their DFS lineups because those fights usually don't end inside a distance, but I think this one does. And then I think Jamahal Hill, just from the aspect of people should be playing him in this lineup, but people won't be playing them in their lineup. They're going to take other shots like Izzy Adesanya around the same exact price tag. And if Jamahal Hill comes in lower owned than I think expected at 9,400, I think he's going to be an optimal play. And then my third play that I'll give you will be my underdog of the week. And I think my underdog of the week, I'm shocked that we agreed on this one. I said I'm going to write this one up on Pub in the next upcoming days to explain my full thoughts and opinions about the fight. But Brad Riddell is probably going to be my underdog of the card at $7,700.
I like it. Yeah, Brad Riddell and Luigi Vandermeer are probably my favorite 2 dogs on the entire slate. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. I know I hit you up kind of short notice, but you're always cool to come on and all that. Thank you for coming on. It really do appreciate it, and I really do appreciate everybody hanging out. We had a new record in here by an absolute mile. So hopefully you guys tune in next week as well. Hopefully we provided some good info. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS_numbers. Instagram DFS by the numbers. You can follow me on YouTube, DFS by the numbers. I put my full card breakdown and prediction video out today. I'm going to be putting out my Draftkings video out tomorrow. I go live on my channel 7:00 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, and then 1 hour prior to the prelims on Saturday. So Billy, where can they find you?
They can follow me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. I always put out my parlays for free. The round props that we're talking about, those are kind of for the subs. I'm not going to lie, but you can slide into DMs. We'll talk about it. And you can always hit me up on Twitter at Getting Bills. Make sure you hit that like button on the video and then hit that bell notification because not only we have the pay-per-view event this week, we got 2 other fight cards that are going to be very fun to really hit at. It's going to be a nice little warm-up. There's some stanky leg parlays that you can really get on top of this week. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Fuck with Pub Sports Radio. We the best out. Fuck the rest out. Thursday, PFL, Carissa Shields. That's going to be a interesting fight with Anthony Pettis at the co-main event. That's going to be a fun fight. And then Friday is Bellator. Bellator always gives you the best prelims I've ever seen in my life. Even if it's mismatch, there's always money to be made on these cards. That's why you guys hit that bell notification because we have all different type of videos for all different type of sports. And always nice talking to you, Brady. Nice seeing the chat. Shouts to the chat for breaking numbers tonight. And always love coming on these pay-per-view events, man. I like the pay-per-view late notice call.
Heck yeah, man. I'll have to have you on for UFC 264 as well. But, yep, thank you guys all so much for hanging out. If you guys can leave a like on your way out. And, yeah, good luck this week, and let's make some money.